A self-described autism professional once told me,
"The inability to make eye contact is the single greatest tragedy of the child with autism. It prevents them from making an essential human connection unique to our species, placing their attempts at communication on a level with that of a domestic dog, begging its master for treats."
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I get the impression they have a real bee in their bonnet about eye contact. They're not the only ones. Earlier on today I typed autism eye contact into a search engine, and the first result that came up said,
"A tendency to avoid eye contact is an early indicator of autism spectrum disorder, and difficulties with eye contact often persist throughout the lifespan. Eye contact difficulties may underlie social cognitive deficits in ASD and can create significant social and occupational barriers."
While some autists have no difficulty in making eye contact whatsoever, there's no doubt that many of us aren't keen on it. We often talk amongst ourselves about how it feels pointless, can be uncomfortable, or even painful, whilst outside, a profitable industry has emerged that lists improving eye contact as one of its stated goals. So, is it true? Is making eye contact really worth spending money on? Is it unique to humans? And is it really an essential human connection? Before I start, please take a moment to like and subscribe. And don't forget, there's links in the description for Patreon and exclusive Autismatic merch. Eye contact is only really possible because of where our eyes are. Most predatory land animals have front-facing eyes, whilst grazing animals usually have eyes on the sides of their heads, which has a profound effect on vision. Forward-looking eyes allow for three-dimensional vision and depth perception, whilst side-facing eyes favour a wider field of view, but primarily in 2 dimensions. The evolutionary advantages of both approaches to binocular vision are plain to see, if you'll pardon the pun. For the herbivorous prey species, their primary defence against being eaten is escape, and the more they can see of their surroundings, the better their chances of spotting a predator in time to make themselves scarce. The predator relies on being faster, cleverer, or sharper than their prey. Eyes that can provide depth information allow them to estimate distances and to concentrate their attention on what they hope to be their next meal. Does this mean humans are predators by default and that all the vegetarians and vegans are wrong? Well, no, it doesn't. That's not how evolution works. Humans are most recently descended from apes with largely vegetable-based diets, and their eyes are front-facing too. We know that primates share a common ancestor with rodents, but there's a huge gap yet to be filled in between that lost creature and early apes. We can say with some certainty that there was a predator in that gap for whom front-facing eyes were an advantage. Humans and apes only retain them because there hasn't been sufficient environmental pressure since to favour a wider field of vision. In the Western world, eye contact is cited as important for a number of reasons. In Europe, America and Australasia, it's associated with trust and respect. When we say, "Look into my eyes when you say that," it's a challenge and a clear insinuation that someone is lying. We're wary of people with shifty eyes and treat reluctance to meet our gaze as a sign of deceit. The eyes are thought of as windows to the soul, and that dishonesty is somehow detectable in them. Science would tell us otherwise. Numerous studies have shown that people are no better at identifying lies with or without eye contact, and people who lie and get away with it can do so whether they're meeting our gaze or not. Successful con-men like Frank Abagnale Jr., played by Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie Catch Me If You Can, never have any problem looking people in the eye whilst fleecing them. So what about respect? I grew up in the UK being told that I must look people in the eyes to show respect, but I've always had difficulty in maintaining it. Had I grown up in the Eastern Hemisphere, I may have fitted in a lot better. Across Asia, eye contact is seen quite differently. In some cultures, meeting the gaze of another is okay in small doses, but prolonged eye contact is often seen as threatening. Making eye contact at all may even be seen as a surefire prelude to a fight or argument in some regions, or in others, it would be a sign that you have amorous intent. So, in the West, we tend to be pro-eye contact, whereas in the East it ranges from romantic through unimportant to an invitation to a bust-up. It's not looking good for that statement of it being an essential human connection unique to our species. So, do we see eye contact in nature? Is it really unique to our species? Primatologists talk in terms of our closest animal cousins having a tolerance for eye contact, with the highest tolerance being in the most social of species. However, it's still most often seen as a sign of aggression. When two chimpanzees face off against one another, they growl and lock gazes before baring their teeth, pacing, waving their arms threateningly and shouting. In most cases, the conflict doesn't go beyond this posturing and noise, but on occasion it escalates and the loser doesn't usually come off well. On a Saturday night, you'll see the same scene playing out in pub car parks across the land between beard-up combatants who've decided to take their quarrel outside. For all the positive connotations there are for eye contact in Western culture, there's also a tradition of using it as a tool to intimidate. We've all seen those scenes of military interrogators or detectives demanding that their accused make eye contact, along with plenty of staring down the lens shots. Even professional boxers stare each other down before the bell rings to start their fight. If there's one thing that we can say for certain about eye contact, it's that its interpretation and use is far from consistent even within the same culture or the same individuals. A sign of interest and engagement on one day may be a threat the next. There is one situation in which we see eye contact in nature that is universal. Not between individuals and groups, but between predator and prey. In those final seconds when a predator has their prey cornered, they inevitably lock eyes. Each is looking for the slightest signal the other is about to move. The prey hopes it will see the signs of a strike and be quick enough to dart in the opposite direction, perhaps to safety. Predator looks for a sign of escape so it can head them off and settle down for dinner. For one, it's life or death. For the other, it's a meal. Each knows the other's intent, but the eyes might tell them when and where the other will make their move. At the root of it, that's all eye contact is for in nature. Whether predator or prey, eye contact is nothing more than an expression of fear. One is afraid of going hungry, whilst the other is afraid for their life. It's clear from the behaviour of our closest animal cousins, from the traditions of various human cultures, and even from some of our own Western traditions, that eye contact has more negative connotations than positive, and some of those go back millions of years to before we could even call ourselves human. When you insist on eye contact, you may know your intent and what you want people to take from it, but you can't guarantee that it'll be received in the same way. Since the most primitive, visceral response to eye contact is fight or flight, and even in human cultures it's often a sign of aggression, getting it wrong can have unpleasant consequences. Trying to force someone to make eye contact is a pointless and self-defeating exercise. Meeting someone's eyes is only one small gesture amongst a myriad of other signals which make its meaning clearer. If you train someone to meet other people's gaze without them understanding the same subtle cues as you do, or whose perception is different from yours, you risk putting them in danger. Convincing someone to believe that eye contact is always a signal of truth or noble intent instantly makes them more vulnerable. At its most basic level, eye contact has an evolutionary root in our most basic of instincts: survival. When robbed of context and cultural nuance, it simply means you're either looking to pounce or to escape. All most autistic people want to do is lead our lives as equals, free of assumptions and preconceptions. Forcing us to do something which is fundamentally difficult for us and doesn't have a clear universal interpretation doesn't seem very human. Some autists find that eye contact isn't a problem at all. But for those of us that do, it doesn't mean we don't respect you. It doesn't mean we're liars, not interested, or harbouring aggression. It's just how we feel more comfortable. Concentrating on watching other people's eyes actually makes it harder for most of us to absorb what's being said. So pushing us into it doesn't show our respect, attention, or engagement. It's possible the discomfort many autists feel has its roots in humanity's ancient ancestry. But on the occasions we do make eye contact with you, don't assume we're scared and want to run away, and it's very unlikely that we want to eat you. I've never heard anyone suggest that autistic people are cannibals. Not yet, anyway. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you'll be pleased to know that new Autismatic content comes out every Wednesday on YouTube at 9 PM UK time. You can help keep it coming by supporting the channel on Patreon for as little as £3 or $4.50 in the US per month, or treat yourself to some of our themed merch.